I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Yalukit Willan clan of the Boonwurrung Cultural Group and the Marinbalug and Kurung Janbalug clans of the Woiwurrung Cultural Group, members of the Kulin Nation. Before European settlement in Melbourne, these tribes shared the plentiful resources of the lower reaches of the Maribyrnong River and used Footscray as a meeting place. Today, from Footscray Park, across the Maribyrnong, you can see the venue where the famous Melbourne Cup takes place. My experience with Indigenous Australians has been limited. I'm ashamed to say I can probably count these interactions on one hand. This has not been due to a deliberate and calculated avoidance of Aboriginal culture and its peoples. At school in New South Wales, I wasn't aware of having any Aboriginal classmates, nor throughout my studies at university. Since moving to Footscray, Melbourne, sadly nothing has changed. I still don't know any Aboriginal people. Footscray is a beacon for multiculturalism, a melting pot of Asian, European and African cultures. All of these cultures, including my own, dilute the Aboriginal presence in my area. I've walked the streets trying to find the banner that pays homage to the original custodians of this land. The only evidence I could find of Aboriginal history was an acknowledgement of country on the entrance to a Victoria University building, and some posters advertising a protest against our current government's plans to close rural Aboriginal communities. There is, however, a very strong police presence in Footscray. Constant foot patrols and numerous public security cameras help to enforce obedience. The Close the Gap initiative, which has been described as an approach that reduces Indigenous Australians to a range of indicators of deficit, seems to illustrate a potential lack of understanding of Aboriginal communities on a federal level, and as I close the gaps in my own knowledge of Aboriginal culture and history, a limited knowledge that seemed to be carefully tailored by the Board of Education to mask the devastation European colonisation had on Aboriginal culture, I am both ashamed and astonished. I have since learnt that Aboriginal people were not nomadic as I had been taught, and that the stolen generation, which was as far as my school syllabus was pushed in terms of injustices, was just the tip of the iceberg on centuries of abuse and discrimination. At school I was never informed about Tasmania's Black War of the mid-1820s, or the long list of betrayals and massacres. I was never explained the difference between multiple massacres and genocide. I understand now that for a society to be progressive, it needs to be completely transparent. This is especially important regarding any atrocities committed in the past. It is irrelevant how much time has passed or whether or not these acts were legal at the time they were committed. A lack of transparency during my high schooling robbed me of the opportunity to understand the events that took place during colonisation. Education reform begins with giving students a comprehensive history of the significant events which shaped the course of Aboriginal experiences. I understand now that the land that I inhabit, where I walk most days to enjoy a neighbourhood where multiculturalism is embraced, lived a people who for tens of thousands of years, before European colonisation, coexisted in perfect harmony with their environment, a people who understood conservation well before the industrial age made it an issue for us all, whose belief system proposed an underlying interconnectedness with the land and its inhabitants, which promoted the importance of sustainability. The Aboriginal people understood the true meaning of a shared knowledge and history. They took no more than necessary long before frugality was a spoken word. They ate a perfect diet before nutrition was a science. They told stories through art and music, and most importantly, lived with the land, no reason to conquer it, shape it into something that can be dominated, oppressed, and humiliated. They were a part of this land before it was taken from them, divided, and sold. I wish I didn't have to reform my own education.